Welcome to Charter Local Edition Northwest in Olympia, Washington. Our team is here today covering the highlights of the 2015 session. My guest is Senator Annette Cleveland, and she represents the 49th District. Thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure.
You're working on funding education for all of our kids in Washington. What progress are you making this session?
Well, it is most certainly the biggest challenge that we face as a state and here in the legislature. And when I'm home in my community, it's the question that I'm asked most frequently. Constituents want to know, what are you working on in Olympia that will address the McCleary decision, which was, as you know, a Supreme Court decision that stated that we weren't meeting as a state our obligation to fully fund basic education. And so that has been a real focus here this year and in this session.
Now, with talks of the budget coming up and possibly a little more money in the revenue projections, do you think there'll be a problem getting what we need for education?
I believe that it is a tremendous challenge because of the sheer number that we have to meet that the McCleary decision laid out for us. And that being said, I believe that there's a reason to be optimistic, and I expect that the House will be releasing a budget proposal tomorrow, and we'll have a little better idea within that proposal what the plan may be that we can eventually all agree to here at the end of session. But at this point, all options have been on the table and been discussed, including carbon tax perhaps, which of course the governor proposed, capital gains tax perhaps, B&O tax perhaps. Certainly there's been much discussion around closing tax loopholes and looking at tax exemptions and determining, are they still relevant? Do they still meet the original intent when the exemption was granted? So again, I think that everything has been fully discussed, and what we'll see in terms of a path forward will be a little clearer tomorrow when the House budget's released.
How about that long list of topics you just went through, all of the potential opportunities? Which do you think are most practical for the people you represent? What would you like to see come of those things?
Well, I think, again, given the magnitude of the funding that we need to identify, we are definitely going to need some new revenue. We can't cut our way to prosperity, always believe that, and I believe there'll be a mix of solutions because there's no one identified revenue source that's going to get us to the ultimate goal of at least $2 billion. So I feel very comfortable that we'll get there, and I expect that we'll hear much feedback from our citizens and the voters in terms of any proposals that are put forward, and I'm going to take that feedback to heart, and that will help me determine what it is I can support at the end of the day.
Well, and once that's funded and that all this hard work is done, what do you want to see for the kids? What kind of a difference would you like to see for the families, for the people in your district?
Thank you for that question. That's an excellent question. I think first and foremost, we have to consider, as a part of meeting the McCleary Supreme Court decision to fully fund basic education, the fact that the voters last year passed Initiative 1351, which of course lowers class size. We have to, I believe, work hard to begin to meet and implement that initiative. So I want to see that included as a part of the final budget this year. I also feel very, very strongly we have to include teacher compensation, and specifically I'm committed to ensuring that there's a cost of living adjustment for our teachers. They've gone years now, as obviously most of us have throughout this great recession, but it is time for us to step up and demonstrate that we understand the sacrifices that have been made and that they make every day, and working hard to provide quality education for our kids.
Right, our children are only going to have the result of the quality of our teachers.
That's absolutely true, and I'm glad that you mentioned that. You know, the court in the McCleary decision actually said that quality educators and administrators are the heart of Washington's education system, and I couldn't agree more.
Annette, thank you. We
Thank
appreciate you
you.
being here. This is Annette Cleveland, and I'm Dana Cowley. We're watching Charter Local Edition Northwest in Olympia.